She called it caring. Said it was harmless. Said I was overreacting, again. But I remember the way her voice softened when she said his name. How she made excuses to check in on him at odd hours. How her face lit up when his texts came through, even while mine went ignored. The worst part? It wasn't the first time. I had forgiven her before. Told myself I was being insecure. That maybe I was too clingy. That love meant trust, even when your gut screamed otherwise. But this time, something snapped. I watched her dash out into the rain at midnight because he wasn't feeling well. Not her brother. Not her dying uncle. Just a man she once admitted having a moment with before we got serious. And as she left, barefoot, soaked, fumbling with her umbrella, I just stood there. Silent. Staring. Cold. It wasn't jealousy. It was clarity. A terrifying, liberating kind of clarity. The kind that told you, she doesn't choose you. Not really. Not when it matters. That night, I didn't fight. I didn't call. I didn't ask where she went, or if he was okay. I packed a bag. Left the keys on the table. Wrote one word on a note, enough. And I left. But the story didn't end there. Because the moment I vanished from her life, the woman who cared so freely for another, suddenly started to panic for me. And by the time she realized what she'd lost, I had moved to the farthest city I could find. No forwarding address. No goodbye. No looking back. But what she did next, made it impossible to stay gone forever. My name is R.I.'s. I'm the kind of guy who remembers birthdays, not just hers, but her mom's, her best friend's, even her dog's adoption day. The kind of guy who walks on the roadside, offers the last bite, and sends "drive safe" texts even after a fight. Not perfect. But intentional. And for the past 4 years, I was hers. Body, heart, soul, all in. Zara was the name I used to whisper into every prayer and every plan. From late-night food runs to beachside dreams of building a life together, we had what people on Instagram post quotes about. Or so I believed. I met Zara during the monsoon. Cliché, I know, but it's true. She was drenched outside a bookstore, hair stuck to her face, trying to shelter a soggy paperback from the rain like it was gold. I handed her my umbrella. She smiled like I handed her the moon. We started talking. Then laughing. Then meeting daily without calling it a date. Within weeks, I was hers, and she was mine. We moved in after a year, decorated a tiny apartment with second-hand furniture and way too many fairy lights. We adopted a grumpy cat and named him Romeo. She was bold. Funny. Sharp. Unpredictable. But also, dangerously empathetic. She felt too much for people, as she used to say. I can't help it, R.I.'s, it's just how I'm built. That's how she explained her late-night calls with guy friends, her endless concern for their well-being, the way she'd cancel our dinner because Rayhan's going through something or Faisal needs to talk. I didn't want to be that possessive guy. The paranoid boyfriend. I told myself, if you love her, you trust her. But it was hard. Especially when I saw how she lit up for others in ways she hadn't for me in months. I started to feel like the background character in my own relationship. Like the reliable one who'd always be there, while she played hero for everyone else. Still, I stayed. Because love, I thought, meant patience. Because when she cried into my chest after a panic attack, or laughed uncontrollably while watching Friends reruns in bed, I saw the girl I fell for. I believed she just needed understanding. I thought I was strong enough to keep us both together. But strength without reciprocity isn't love. It's self-destruction. I didn't realize it until that final time. Until she said she had to check on an old friend again, while I sat alone with candles burning low and dinner getting cold. Zara always had a heart too big for the world. She just forgot to leave a little room in it for the one person who stayed. It started with a name I hadn't heard in 2 years. Adil. She used to talk about him like an old scar, something that once hurt, but had long healed. He was her university friend. Almost. The one who confessed too late. The one she rejected, but still, cared for deeply. I hated how that word followed her everywhere. Care. Like a free pass. I remember the day clearly. A random Wednesday. We were having tea on the balcony, and she casually mentioned it. Adil's back in town. That's all she said. No pause. No follow-up. Just dropped the bomb and sipped her chai like it was the weather. My hand froze mid-stir. Okay, and? She looked at me, confused. And nothing. Just thought I'd tell you. My gut twisted. The air suddenly felt too still. A few days later, I noticed small changes. Late replies. The same white lie she always used, battery died. A perfume she hadn't worn in ages. Then one night, I came home early from work. Her phone was buzzing on the counter. I didn't mean to look, but the screen lit up just as I reached for a glass of water. Adil, can't stop thinking about the way you smiled today. Same eyes. Same laugh. I missed that. My breath caught in my throat. I stared at the message for a full minute before putting the phone down like it was fire. I didn't say anything that night. I watched her walk in hours later, her hair wind-blown, her cheeks flushed. Traffic was a nightmare, she mumbled. I nodded. Tea. She smiled. You know me so well. And yet. I didn't know where she had really been. Or who had made her smile that way. I couldn't prove anything. The message was suggestive, but not a confession. She hadn't replied to it. At least not that I saw. But something inside me cracked. The second I saw his name, I was no longer her boyfriend. I was her audience. She had returned to a stage I wasn't invited to. A story that didn't have room for me. I began watching her like a stranger would. Observing. Noticing. She was more distracted. Touching her phone too often. Avoiding eye contact mid-conversation. The silence between us wasn't empty anymore, it was loud. She wasn't cheating. At least not in the way that left lipstick on collars or strangers in beds. But emotionally. She had already left. Worse, she was being pulled back by the very man she once cried over, and I had held her through those nights. I wanted to confront her. I wanted to scream. But a quiet part of me whispered, let's see how far this goes. I wish I hadn't waited. Because what came next, shattered every last illusion I had about the woman I thought would be my forever. For days, I said nothing. I walked through our home like a ghost, existing, but not alive. Every word I spoke felt filtered through cotton. Every smile I forced cracked at the edges. I began to feel like I was performing a version of myself, for a woman who no longer clapped. I tried to convince myself it wasn't what it looked like. Maybe he was just being flirty. Maybe she didn't even respond. Maybe I'm being paranoid. But then, I remembered the way she used to look at me. And how long it had been since I'd seen that look. She still touched my shoulder in passing. Still texted, made you coffee. Don't forget to eat. Still left cute notes on the fridge. But it all felt mechanical, like she was keeping up a habit, not showing love. Late one night, I lay next to her while she slept. The rise and fall of her breath was calm. Peaceful. Mine wasn't. I kept replaying that message from Adil. The way he said, same eyes, same laugh. It wasn't innocent. It wasn't friendly. It was personal. Nostalgic. Loaded. Did she smile back? Did she let him in again? I stared at her phone lying beside the bed. Unlocked. Just sitting there. A black slab of temptation. I didn't touch it. Not because I trusted her. But because I was scared of what I'd find. And that's when I realized the shift. I wasn't afraid of betrayal. I was afraid of confirmation. What scared me wasn't the idea that she might be choosing someone else. It was the quiet, gut-wrenching possibility that maybe, she already had. The next day, I tried to act normal. Made her toast. Kissed her forehead. Even joked about a movie night. She smiled. "You're being sweet. You deserve it," I said. My voice felt foreign. But as the day wore on, I kept spiraling. Every time her phone buzzed, my chest tightened. Every time she laughed at her screen, I felt like punching a wall. She noticed the shift. "You've been quiet lately," she said one night while folding laundry. "Is everything okay?" I nodded. "Work's been stressful." A lie. I wanted to scream, "No, Zara. Everything is not okay." I saw what he wrote. "I know you're slipping. I can feel you fading away." But I didn't say it. Why? Because I didn't want to seem weak. Or worse, controlling. What if she flipped it back on me? Said I was spying, overthinking, being insecure again. I'd played that role before. The anxious boyfriend. The one who got dismissed with "He's just a friend," our eyes. And I couldn't stomach being gaslit again. So, I waited. Waited to see how far she'd go. One evening, she said she was going to meet her friend Alina. I offered to drop her off. She declined, too quickly. "It's fine. She's just 5 minutes away." She left in a hurry, dressed a little nicer than usual. Lip gloss. A different perfume. I waited 10 minutes. Then I followed her. Not my proudest moment. But heartbreak makes detectives out of lovers. She didn't go to Alina's. She went to a dimly lit cafe on the other side of town. I parked across the street. My hands were shaking. And when she stepped out of the Uber, Adil was already there, waiting. Smiling. She didn't hug him. But her eyes, they ached in his direction. She leaned in to say something. He laughed. Then they walked inside. I didn't follow them. I didn't need to. I had seen enough. The Zara I loved would have told me. Would have insisted I come. Would have held my hand and introduced me proudly. This Zara? She left me in the dark. Again. And this time, I wasn't going to beg for light. 2 days passed after that cafe night. I didn't confront her. Didn't mention Adil. Didn't hint that I had followed her. I was quiet. Too quiet. Zara noticed. "You're acting off." "I'm tired," I replied, not even looking up from my laptop. She leaned on the table, searching my face. Did something happen? I wanted to say yes. I wanted to slam my fist down and shout, "How dare you lie to me again?" But I didn't. Because I was too busy watching what she would do next. That Sunday morning, she left her phone on the bathroom counter while she went to shower. I sat at the edge of the bed. Heart pounding. Hands sweating. I didn't go through her gallery or social apps. Just her recent calls. One name. Adil, 14 minutes. 1:02 a.m. I blinked. Once. Twice. 1 in the morning. What could they possibly need to discuss at that hour? I heard the water shut off. I backed away from the phone like it had burned me. She came out, wrapped in a towel, humming something off-key like nothing was wrong. Like our relationship wasn't dangling over fire. That evening, I told her I needed space. She paused mid-sip of her coffee. Space? I'm taking a few days off, I said. Heading to the coast. Alone. She stared at me, searching for something. Guilt? Fear? I couldn't tell. But she nodded. Okay. If you think that'll help. No protest. No questions. Just agreement. And that was the twist I didn't see coming. Not the call. Not the cafe. Not the lies. But how easily she let me go. No fight. No, don't leave. No tears. Just indifference cloaked in fake support. I packed a small bag and left that same night. And I didn't go to the coast. I went to Islamabad. Far away from her. From the city. From all our memories. I stayed at a cheap hotel, trying to rebuild what was left of my self-respect. But on the third night, just as I was beginning to breathe again, my phone buzzed. Unknown number, RIs, I know I messed up. Please, just pick up. Then another. Unknown number, he kissed me. I didn't plan it. I swear I didn't. But it meant nothing. I didn't feel anything. Please believe me. Please call me. My hands trembled as I read it. So it was true. She had gone back to him. Emotionally, if not physically. And now, that line had finally been crossed. The one I had feared all along. But instead of breaking down, I smiled. Because now, there was no more guessing. No more lies. No more gray. She had given me the one thing I desperately needed but never asked for. Closure. I didn't respond to her messages. Not that night. Not the next day. Not when she called 32 times in a row. I let the silence answer for me. Until I returned to the city a week later, quietly, without warning. And found her waiting outside our apartment, eyes swollen, makeup smudged, holding a single umbrella like a peace offering. Our eyes, she whispered when she saw me. Please. I need to explain. I stood there, cold rain dripping off my hood, heart shielded behind a wall I never thought I'd build for her. You kissed him, I said flatly. Her bottom lip trembled. I didn't mean for it to happen, he leaned in, and I froze. But I pulled away. I swear. I told him I loved you. Did you? I cut her off. Because it didn't feel like love when you lied to my face. When you said you were with Alina. When you let him text you things no friend should say and said nothing. I was confused, our eyes, she said, stepping closer. I didn't cheat on you in my heart. I didn't realize how far I'd drifted. That broke me. You didn't cheat in your heart. I repeated, bitterly. Do you hear yourself? You emotionally left me months ago. You gave him pieces of you I had to beg for. She shook her head, desperate. That's not true. Then why didn't you stop it? My voice cracked. Why didn't you block him the first time he crossed a line? Why did I have to find out like this? Why did you let me plan our future while you were busy revisiting your past? She fell silent. Because she had no answer. Just tears. Regret. And a silence that spoke louder than any apology. I laughed. A bitter, broken sound. You know what the saddest part is? She looked up, eyes red. I would have forgiven you again, I said quietly. If you had just told me the truth before I had to find it myself. If you had just fought for me, for us. But you didn't. Not until I left. She stepped forward, grabbed my hand. I'm fighting now. No, I said, pulling away. You're reacting. You're panicking. That's not the same as love. Her tears fell harder. Our eyes, please, don't walk away. I made a mistake, but I still want you. I still love you. I looked at her for a long moment. The woman I once saw my entire life with. The one I waited for during long nights. The one I forgave too many times. I believe you, I said softly. But I don't trust you. And with that, I turned around. Walked away from the girl I once thought was my forever. This time, for good. I didn't look back. Not when she called out my name, not when she sobbed into the rain, not even when my heart screamed at me to turn around and catch her before she shattered. Because I finally understood. Love isn't about staying when it's slowly killing you. I moved out the next morning. Didn't take much, just my books, some clothes, and Romeo, our grumpy old cat who, ironically, didn't even flinch when Zara said goodbye. Maybe he sensed what I hadn't for months, her warmth had long cooled. I didn't leave a note this time. No dramatic goodbye, no guilt-laced message. Just absence. The kind that makes more noise than words ever could. A week later, I left the city. I didn't tell anyone where. Not even my closest friends. I just disappeared. To the furthest corner I could afford, somewhere with mountains, slow mornings, and people who didn't know my name or the version of me that bled quietly behind Zara's shadow. The silence here was terrifying at first. I kept reaching for my phone, half expecting her, "Hey, made your favorite chai," texts. But they never came. After the 100th time of checking nothing, I turned my phone off, and left it that way. Days turned into weeks. I found a small job at a local cafe, part-time. Cleaned tables. Brewed coffee. Spoke to strangers with names I never had to remember. It was oddly freeing. No one knew I used to dream in future tense with a woman who forgot how to hold my hand when no one was looking. But healing isn't a straight line. Some nights, I still dream of her. Her laugh in my kitchen. Her bare feet on the cold tiles. Her soft humming in the shower, completely off-key. And then I wake up, staring at the ceiling in a place she's never been, and I remember. She kissed him. Not just with lips. But with access. With the kind of intimacy that isn't physical, it's trust. And that was mine. Until it wasn't. A month after I vanished, I received a letter. No return address, just my name. The handwriting was hers. I recognized it instantly, the little hearts she placed above her lowercase i's like some teenage habit she never dropped. It was 7 pages long. She talked about guilt. About how she replayed that night 1,000 times. About how she realized, too late, that she had never felt safer with anyone than with me. "I think I mistook your silence for weakness," she wrote. "But now I understand, it was strength. The kind that doesn't need to shout to be heard." She asked if there was still a version of the future where we found our way back. I didn't reply. Because I knew, if I answered, even with anger, I'd open the door again. And I wasn't ready to bleed for someone who only remembered my worth after losing it. Instead, I folded the letter, placed it in the drawer beside my bed, and let it sit there, like a scar I've accepted, but no longer pick at. Some stories aren't about happy endings. Some are about knowing when to stop writing. And for the first time in years, I finally picked up the pen again. This time, for myself.